Hi, this is Curt Barone, and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Vlog. With me today, I have my good friend and colleague and co-instructor, Bill Maccarone, and we've got some news to share with you about the FLSA program and some updates and different things. But to kind of kick us off, we have our FLSA class coming up next week. And let's see, the class is May 11th to the 14th. There's still seats available. And Bill, I joke, I'm more like the generalist, and my eyes are on a lot of different balls in the fire service. Yours are you really focus on the FLSA. So what are some of the things that have changed? We gave the class the last time, I think in February. Just a couple of things that have and I know a lot's changed. We have a new administration and stuff, but what are some of the
Yeah,
things that's changed even since February on the FLSA?
there's been a number of changes. For starters, there's always cases that are developing, and as the cases develop, that's a constant all the time between class to class. It's very common to see a case that we're following, in one part of the country, go for one side or the other in terms of, who wins, who loses, and that changes the outlook for that area. That potentially changes the way the FLSA is interpreted in that area of the country, if not across the country. But something that's a little bit unique now are the changes that are coming out of the DOL. And that's almost a day by day type of a thing. And you touched on it. New administration brings new priorities, brings a new vision, so to speak. And the DOL, in my opinion, has done a 180 from the way the DOL under the Trump administration approached wage and hour issues to the way the DOL under the Biden administration is approaching wage and hour issues. So we're seeing guidance from the DOL, which again, and we discussed in the class, the guidance from the DOL, you kind of, some people, some courts and jurisdictions think that it's deserving of deference, and others maybe not so much. But the guidance from the DOL is changing drastically from day to day. One of the things that just came out within the past, I think it was April 26th, was the DOL launched a new website, or a new website dedicated to essential workers, essential protections is basically the gist. And the DOL is addressing common issues questions that I get all the time. I'm sure you get. For example, a COVID test. If I'm as an employer requiring someone to get a COVID test, do I have to pay that employee for that time? Temperature checks. If you're requiring, as an employer, you're saying, listen, before you come into work, before you step through the door, you've got to do A, B, and C, and I think that's common right now in the fire service with temperature checks. It was somewhat of a question mark what the DOL's take was going to be on that sort of an instance. And now we have, the DOL is basically saying that for the most part, if it's a requirement of your job, and if it's, if it's related to your job that you're asked to perform, you got to pay for that time. So
So,
I think there's a
well,
lot of
we talk about the Alice in Wonderland aspect of
principle.
some of this stuff, and it is the DOL's opinion here. It's going to be up to the
Yes.
courts to say whether the DOL is right or wrong, and so on and so forth. But let me just throw this out. And the people who've been in the class before are going to know exactly where I'm going with this. Did they say anything about standing in line waiting for the test? All right,
They,
let's leave that one alone, because
yeah,
I think that, like, if you haven't been through the class, you're not going to get
no,
what I just said. But so maybe the test you're going to pay for, but waiting in line, forget it.
yeah.
But
And I purposely avoided using the term principal activity in that last in what I just described, because I knew what that was going to open up. But you're absolutely correct.
yeah, wow, okay. So and I know we've got several cases filed recently
Yeah,
in terms of officers and
yeah,
that are being treated as exempt employees, which I think the Trump administration would have taken the view that officers should be exempt. And now the Biden administration is probably backpedaling quite a bit on that. And so these cases have just been filed, but we'll see over the next couple of years which direction, if the courts are going to follow the DOL and so on. So
yeah. And it's I think it's important to note that, I think there's more coming. Like I said, it's a day to day. What we're seeing how the DOL is really day to day. And again, how the courts are going to view it is another question mark. So in reality, I think that these next few months are going to be very important. I think that the changes we're seeing are going to potentially I think it makes a difference. I really do.
Yeah. One of the couple of big announcements that I wanted to get to, and that's really what I wanted to focus on today, is we have set the dates for the next FLSA class. So we have one next week. The next one is going to be October 4th through the 8th. Okay, and it's going to be as a webinar. We're going to continue, at least for now, we're going to continue providing the classes via webinar. We don't have any live classes scheduled. If we are going to, I really don't see a live FLSA class until probably the earliest would be March of 2022. And that's if everything goes good. I was just reading this morning about the variant, the COVID variant in India, and some of the challenges that that's going to pose. So who knows how much longer this is going to go on? I know there's a lot of optimism, I think, but right now we're not committing to the live class, so we're sort of stuck with the not stuck with the we're doing the webinars. I think a lot of people. The nice thing about the webinars is you don't have to pay for the hotel, you don't have to pay for the airfare, you don't have to pay for meals. It's a lot, more economical to get folks through this program. So, but at least for the time being, we're sticking with the webinar. And again, October 5th through the 8th, okay, is going to be the next one. And the really kind of exciting news is something that Bill and I have been talking about, for 4 or 5 years anyway, is doing some advanced FLSA classes. And we've done a couple of things. Like last year, one of the things earlier this year, one of the things that we did was we've noticed that people come back, they take the class and they come back. And maybe they let a year or two go by and they come back again because they want to get the sort of the updates. And so to accommodate that, what we've designed is a way that people can reattend. If you've attended in the past, you've been registered and you attended in the past 3 years, you can attend the conference now for $99. Okay, and that what the idea here is that people can. It's a 4-day class, 24 hours of material. Maybe there's only 6 or 8 hours of material that you want to watch. Well, for $99, you can watch the whole thing, or you can just come and watch what you want to. But you can get updated on the things that you feel you need to get updated on. So we've got that. But in addition to that, what we're going to have now are advanced classes, and we've got 3 advanced classes. And I apologize, I've got to kind of look off to the side here, and we've got dates set for them. But the first one's going to be Advanced FLSA Calculating Regular Rate for Firefighters and Other First Responders. That's going to be October 20th. And it'll be probably a 3-hour webinar. I think that'll be the target. And we're going to schedule like my other 3-hour webinars, 3 to 4 hour webinars. It starts at 1 o'clock Eastern, which is, do the math here, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock West Coast time. So, sorry to my friends in Alaska and Hawaii. We still can't figure out a way to accommodate you and not have the folks on the East Coast up, too late. So, but at any rate, that'll be October 20th on regular rate. And I don't know, Bill, I think that's probably the most important thing for folks to have a really good understanding of. I don't know.
Yeah.
You want to share your thoughts on it?
I agree with that because it impacts everybody. Unless you run an organization that's everybody is exempt, which is really not very common in the fire service, if at all. This is going to impact everybody. And I also think the way firefighters are paid, and not just firefighters, but other first responders, whether it's be dispatchers or you're getting shift differential, you're getting medic pay, you're getting specialty pay, all these different little things added onto your wages. And as most people know at this point, some people don't, that has to all be calculated in the regular rate. That has to go in the overtime rate. And you combine that with this new idea in the fire service today that, we're not going to have extra people. It's going to be a lot of overtime. And you take all that together and you combine that, and that's a recipe for disaster. And it's showing itself in the litigation. And I know, and I have a very small database of litigation in comparison to yours, but we see, and you point out the amount of litigation, FLSA litigation involving the regular rate, and it's leading the way. It's really, so I do think it's important. And also there's been some changes. And I think when we think back to when we first offered this class in Las Vegas, was it 5 years ago, I guess, or 6 years ago that we
Which is
the first time
2016, I think it was. Yeah.
yeah, the very first time we offered the class, and you think of the regular rate section, and you think of now, between then and now, what's changed, and how much of that has been streamlined, how much of that is new, brand new, how much is it DOL influenced, how much is it court influenced. It's an area that you have to stay current on, and I
Yeah.
agree.
And for folks who haven't been through the class, the regular rate is the rate at which you calculate someone's overtime, which you might think it's simple, and in theory it should be simple, but in reality it's anything but simple. It's an advanced topic. We probably spend maybe an hour to an hour and 15 minutes in the regular class on regular rate. We're going to spend 3 hours, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see how long-winded Bill and I get when it actually comes down to it. I plead guilty on that one, but essentially we'll be getting into it in much more depth than we're able to. The advanced classes, and this goes for all three of the advanced classes, it's intended for people who've already been through the program. It's not designed for somebody who hasn't. Now, that's not to say you can't go. Anybody who wants to go can certainly go, but we're not going to be able to bring your knowledge up to the level that it needs to be at in the advanced class. So, things like if you don't understand what a regulation is and how a regulation differs from a statute, if the term DOL doesn't ring a bell to you and you don't know what DOL is, you might want to think about taking the basic class before. But certainly anybody who's been through the basic class, the 24-hour classes, this is really geared toward you.
Yeah.
And hit a little bit of refreshing on stuff, but obviously we're not going to be able to put you through the basic again and actually cover the advanced stuff in that. I don't know, did you have?
Yeah. And no, and I think, and these topics that we've chosen for this first line of advanced classes, they were derived from past attendees, and in conjunction with us seeing the trends and understanding the trends. One of the questions that was asked for past attendees for the last, I'm gonna say about a year and a half, probably the last 6 or 7 times that we've offered the class, was if we were to develop an advanced class, which of the following topic areas would you like to see? And again, regular rate is one of those things where, people very often, unfortunately, it's as much as we try not to, people leave the regular class and with, if they've got a regular rate issue, they want to go further. They want to dig a little deeper. They want to maybe discuss some advanced topics that we can't really get into in the regular class.
Okay, so that's regular rate is going to be the first of the advanced classes that we do on October 20th. On November 17th, we'll have a class on off the clock work. And let me just get my notes here, get the right set of notes here. There it is. No, that's not it either. Okay, but that's going to be November 17th. Billy, where did I put those notes? Let's see here. I got it right here. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and the official title, because we've been working on what the best way to name the classes as well, and we've been going through a couple of different gyrations here, but they're all going to be called the Advanced FLSA. So, but the one on November 17th, this will be the second one, is titled "Managing Firefighters' Hours in the 21st Century: Off the Clock Work." Okay, Bill, you want to kind of jump in there and just kind of flush out.
And I think that's one thing with this particular topic, with off the clock work. It again is evolving as much as the others, if not more, because technology is evolving, and the issues that we have today, everything from fire officers completing reports after hours at home to some potential advanced training issues of online training formats and whether or not folks are online from home and accessing those types of things, right down to your responding to department emails and texts, something that a lot of people don't think are is super relevant, is super important, but that's really important. If you have a overtime eligible employee that's on his or her days off and they're back and forth with the training officer on training issues, there's a very legitimate question as to whether or not that needs to be, paid time. So you have to be able to manage that. You have to be able to, approach that from the employer's side responsibly and come up with the right framework to be ready in the event that something occurs, as far as a lawsuit or a disgruntled. Usually it's typically someone that's let go, someone that leaves, maybe not under the best circumstances, and they turn around and look back over the past year or 2 or 3 and say, I think I should have gotten paid for all these times. And you, as an employer, you kind of got to be ready for that. Another hot button topic in that area are your pre and post shift activities related to change of shift. The days of firefighter A and firefighter B relieving each other with a 30-second conversation on the apparatus floor has now been replaced to, okay, let's sit down in front of the computer and go through the checklist of all the equipment that's on the ambulance that's passing off to you. And let's go through, let me get the narcotics book out so we can both sign off on the narcotics that are on the truck. There are so many different things that have evolved over time. And I think it's again, a very popular topic in folks wanting more information on it, wanting to be able to kind of deal with it better within their own organizations.
Yeah, that the shift overlap is an interesting thing. We've got a case out of FDNY recently on that. And we talk about that in the basic class, but the basic class, sometimes we feel like we've got to get through this to get to the next thing. And the more advanced class is going to let us kind of get into the nuances of some of these areas in much more detail, and share those insights. So with the shift overlap, certainly today, like I remember, Billy, as you were saying that, you just kind of wave to your relief, and your relief leaves, and you go on duty. With the inventory, particularly with narcotics and other medications, and sign-off requirements, and you actually got to count the vials in some places. And every fire department's a little bit different. But when you've got to do that level of inventory at shift change, there's certainly an issue about just how much of it you can just kind of write off, and how much of it is entitled to be compensated. So
yeah, and I think that would be something the temperature checks that we just discussed. And I think under ordinary circumstances, a temperature check is what, 30 seconds? I mean, that's not a big issue for a department. But where you have to watch out for is in this, okay, you have to do your temperature check at 10 minutes before your shift. And then it's a
that means you have to
10-minute
be there
walk.
10 minutes before.
Exactly, and it's a 10-minute walk from where you do your temperature check to where you actually work, and these start to kind of build on each other. But yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah. So that's the second one. Okay. So the first one, let me just kind of review here. We got the first one is Advanced FLSA, calculating regular rate for firefighters and other first responders, and that's going to be October 20th. Second one is Advanced FLSA, managing firefighters' hours in the 21st century, off the clock work, November 17th. And then the last one, I think, and I hope folks will go to the first two, because the last one really is a hot button one. They're all hot button ones, but it's Advanced FLSA, the executive exemption, fire officers and overtime. And it's the status of whether or not lieutenants, captains, battalion chiefs, deputy chiefs, and whatever other titles that you have for your officers, are they entitled to overtime? Are they exempt under the FLSA? Are they executives? Might they be administrative or some other category for which they're not entitled to overtime? Okay. Again, what do we spend, about an hour or so on that topic in the basic class?
Yeah,
and so now we're going to spend 3 hours just on that one topic. So we can explore the cases in much more detail, and look at the DOL's regs, the DOL's interpretations, and get a much better handle on that.
Yeah, no, and I think that, again, and I know I usually preface this when I begin this section in the class with, this is the hottest issue in the fire service today, hottest FLSA issue in the fire service today. And I do firmly believe that, because I think that I think it applies to a small subset. And when I say small subset, every department has officers, but it's not the majority. It's not every
in your department. It's
50%,
right? In Providence, it was somewhere between a third and a quarter of the membership. But in yours, so it depends. But it affects an awful lot of people. It depends on how many officers you have in ratio to the firefighters.
Yes, absolutely. But what I meant by that was, it's the regular rate affects every employee, whereas
I
this
got you.
affects, like you said, 20 or 30% of the employees. And that's the
Yeah, well,
reason
it's
why I
easy for
think it's
firefighters
not
not to
as,
care if the officers get overtime because they don't, especially younger fire, they're not really thinking about what their future looks like,
this is true.
and so,
This is
but
true.
once you get into the officers'
Yeah.
ranks, you're saying, well, wait a
Yeah,
minute, now I'm
absolutely.
watching my subordinates make more than me.
And that's a problem. But that, as I say, it's a problem. It's a problem in terms of it happens and it results in, less than efficient, operations or setups. So I think the thing with the executive exemption too is there's a lot of cases right now pending on that. There's just a lot and they're high stakes. You've got just last week, there was a battalion chief case got filed out in California. There's a large county in Florida that's in litigation right now. It's been in litigation for a while. I'm keeping my eye on that one. They're treating their captains, if my memory serves me correct, as exempt executives. And obviously there's it depends on each situation where, and we've talked about this extensively, but each situation is different and you evaluate every situation on its own merits with its own facts. But it's definitely helpful to really kind of drill down and get that in-depth look to say, okay, well, what did the court say over here? And what does the DOL say over there? And how can I bring this all together and apply them to my facts? What I have here in my organization and put yourself in the best position.
Yeah. So, so I guess kind of just to wrap up, we do have the class coming up next week. We do have a date now for the next 24-hour FLSA program, which is, oh boy, October. What did I say, Bill?
Yes.
October
Shoot.
5th. I think it's
Yeah, I have it in
October
front of me.
5th to October 8th. Because
Right.
again, we're
Yep.
just setting these dates now. And that's going to be it. We won't be doing another FLSA 24-hour class until 2022. That'll be the last one for the year. And then we do have these 3 classes. The Advanced FLSA classes on, first one's regular rate October 20th. Second one is Managing Firefighters' Hours in the 21st Century, off the clock work, November 17th. And then Executive Exemption, Fire Officers and Overtime, December 15th. The advanced classes won't be, you can't register for them today. Hopefully I'll get those up by the end of this week. Today is
Wednesday.
May 5th. Yeah, 5th of May. So I would say by the end of this week, we'll have those up and folks can register for them. So Bill, any departing words of wisdom?
I don't know about that. Usually my words of wisdom are they're too long
Yeah.
to wrap it up. No, I think
Yeah.
it's for me, this is the first time that I saw some of the changes that took place under the Obama administration switching to the Trump administration, and now to see a lot of that revert back under the current administration, really watching the changes to the DOL and then looking to see how the courts apply those changes. For me, and I'm an FLSA nerd, that to me is definitely something to be watching out for and to see these trends. But I'm excited to have this little group of classes able to deliver, because folks have been asking for them, and folks that attended the class, and these are the areas that they've kind of identified to say, hey, we think it'd be great to have more information on this and dig a little deeper, and it's exciting to do that for me.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I'm excited about it too. So, and that's going to do it for another edition of Fire Law.